Hello, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to my first Eternal Return character guide, and today we'll be doing a guide on Elena. Elena is the ice figure skater character. She is kind of a sub-tank, pseudo-tank, does a little bit of DPS, CC, all that stuff, but I mostly play her as like a tank slash sub-tank, but does a good amount of damage. But so first of all, I'm going to show off my build. I'm going to show off the plan, show off what I do, and I'll explain everything through that plan that I made. As you can see, I have 3 plans, but I'm only going to showcase the top plan, which is my build itself, where you can actually use this yourself. You just have to search 19220 in the search saved plans, and you'll be able to find my plan, and you can just copy it over and use it on your next game. So now let's get into it. So with Elena, this is my build. So I go Red Panther, I go Sunset Armor, Vigilante, Tindalus Band, and then Tachyon Brace. So I usually go Red Panther for the healing reduction, Sunset Armor for the passive like Sunfire Cape or Flame Barrier. Vigilante is just a good item to have for HP, SP regen, and just skill amp, and with a little bit of defense. On Tindalus Band, because I like to build Tindalus' Monarch, and then Tachyon Brace for the movement speed as well as the cooldown reduction. So the pathing, so for this whole plan, so I usually do is I start factory. And then I basically go to factory, do factory, teleport to alley, and then walk down to police station. And it's a really quick three zone path and build. Tactical skill. So tactical skill, you can do a couple of options. With this build in particular, I go Quake. And Quake is just a really good overall thing just to really lock down backliners when you get to the backline. It's just really, really good. And when you do your tack upgrade to level 3, it does damage as well. So it's just more oppressive and more annoying for backliners and just really lock them down really good. So that's why I usually go Quake. And then Augments. So Augments, so the reason why I go this combination, I go Quake with Ironclad. So Ironclad basically is when you use your weapon skill, which Rapier skill, basically you just dash onto an enemy and do damage. It basically activates Ironclad, which gives you tenacity and reduces your damage, and you just, you're obviously have more movement speed and you're a little tankier. So it's really, really nice. And then I go Unwavering Mentality to get the shield for your ultimate. And then Cavalcade, which is when people are near you, you take less damage. So ideally, you're going to be playing around your teammates because you're a melee character. So that's why Cavalcade's really nice. You could go for I decided to go red. You could go green and go like a little bit supportive with like thorns and then like cameras. Or you can go like, urban warfare or anything like that. But I usually go red sub-secondary. I go endorphin because it gives me SP for regen. And then open wounds because it gives me more damage and gives me more damage over time, which is really nice. Late game items. So this is usually the build I go into. I would say as an Elena player, been playing Elena quite a bit. I personally like going this top build, which is Eye of Argos, Blazing Dress, Astronaut Helmet, Tindalus Monarch, and then Legs of Steel. And as you can tell, there are some like other build options you can do if you want to be tankier, if you want to be, faster. Like you could definitely go any of these other items, and I'll talk about that in a bit here. But ideally, this is the main build I usually go, and ideally with Elena, she doesn't need too many transitions, or she doesn't need too many gold items, just because she's your tank, and ideally, when you have a 3-man squad, ideally you want to give it to like probably your DPS or the people that pump out the damage. Ideally, you want to give it to them because their power spikes are going to matter more when it comes to the late game. But I will say, for Elena, prioritization on your transitions. Without a doubt, recommend you run get Blazing Dress first. Blazing Dress is just a tree of life. You can get them from either hotel, temple, or cemetery on day 2, or day 3 it's forest and somewhere else. I can't remember on the top of my head. Forest and stream. Yep, forest and stream for that area for Tree of Life. Usually I take prioritization between these 3 items. So I usually go, if I can, I try to go Blazing Dress, then I go Astron Helmet, then I go Tinderless Monarch, because the cooldown cap is really nice, cooldown reduction is really nice, the debilitation is nice for DPS output, and then Blazing Dress is just such a nice item to have as a tank. Does good with Flame Barrier, does more damage, as well as just giving you a good amount of HP and vision range, especially since the nighttime vision range kind of got reduced. It's actually really, really nice to actually have some extra vision range so you can actually see what you're doing, especially when it's nighttime. But yeah, so this build, I believe it is a couple of mithrils, a couple of meteorites, and 1 tree. And ideally, too, there are some other items here that you could do. If you want to go for crazy damage and you have a blood sample, you can go Nosferatu and then do the Dawn upgrade for skill amp increase. If you want tankiness and you're looking for less damage, you can go Dwarf's Helmet instead of Astronaut Helmet, which is basically just gives you Reflection, which basically just reflects damage back to enemies that attack you. Prominence is a good skill damage item too that you can add, but ideally you want to put that on your skill amp carry, so unless if you don't have any skill amp carries, then you could definitely just keep that for yourself. And then Boots of Hermes is always just a good option just for good movement speed. It gives you good cooldown, and, you know, obviously the tenacity is really, really nice. And then if you do get blood and you get lucky, Taproots is a really, really good defensive item to have. So it is just really nice to have Taproot if you can get it. And then I just throw on Zen Vitality, Holy Water, and Tears of Selene, just in case if I ever get those or be able to craft them, which ideally you want to prioritize Zen Vitality if you can, but highly doubt that you'll get to a point in the game where you're going to be crafting these. But if you do, you can definitely craft some Zen Vitalities, which gives you more max HP. And then Holy Water is really nice as well because it gives you more defense, and obviously the tankier you are, the better. But yeah, that is the whole build. And then skill leveling. So, if you don't know, I'll run through Elena's skills real quick. So, her Q is just a line kind of spike, does damage, applies, passive stacks, and nothing really crazy about it. W is her mobility, where she kind of just does like an AoE attack, and then she can kind of have like a small little bit of movement along with the W. It stacks 2 times, and you could possibly get it a 3rd time. And there is a small window when after you use your E that you can get an enhanced W, which basically gives you more damage as well as a little more movement on top of that, which is really, really nice. E is her movement where she basically just skates everywhere and just consumes like her, step sequence. And basically, like, that's her skating, that's your bar that you kind of have to like keep a track of, and that's kind of how you skate around and get mobility. Ideally, you don't need to level this one up just because ideally you just go for the movement and you're all set to go. Ultimate is basically just a giant glacier that drops down. If you hit somebody in the middle of the glacier, they're frozen instantly and they're stunned for quite some bit of time and receive a bunch of skill damage. If they're like on the outside of the center point, but they're still in the ult itself, they're slowed and they still take damage as well, and they probably get passive stacks and get frozen eventually. But yeah, and then tactical. So basically, when their tactical, I believe, is probably what you want to level up first and max. When you perform attacks or skills on people, it shows like a little like circle underneath the enemy, which is called a glacier field. Basically applies chill to them, and basically they take more damage the chilled they are. or like the more chilled they are, and then when they're fully chilled, when the circle fills up, they are frozen. And then when they are frozen, you hit them, they take more damage, and ideally it's a good way to kind of just layer your CC on top of one another. Ideally, you run up to an enemy, you slow them, you stun them, you get that frozen proc off of your passive, and then you just ult on top of them, and you just blow up some backliner, and it's really, really nice overall. And then Rapier skill, basically just charge towards an enemy, do damage. It's a short cooldown, and it's really, really nice with Ironclad because you'll be able to probably get at least 1 or 2 of these off in a fight, and it's just good to have Ironclad because that's kind of the tankiness part, and because we're not running Force Field, that's kind of why we need that Ironclad, so we can get that little bit of extra beefiness and tank so we can live longer and produce more damage and win fights. So leveling wise, I usually go EQW to start. You usually do with every character, you usually do their mobile skill first because ideally you want to get around faster. The faster you do your build, the better. Just gets you around quicker. Ideally, when you play the game, you want to get your build as quick as humanly possible. So ideally, you want to start your mobile skill. But when you max out a skill, ideally, you want to max out your tactical first. Then you go your Q, your W, and then your E. So ideally, you do EQW, and then you go Q tactical ult, QQ tactical Q ult. You get your ults on 6, 11, and 16, and then you get your tactical max at 9, your Q max at 10, your W max at 15, and then 20 is your E maxed. But yeah, that's like the whole basis of the guide. You can use this guide whenever you want. Basically, all you have to do is that you just have to type in this code when you click on search save plans. You just type in this code. I'll have the build ID in the description and that, where you can just copy and paste it into the search save plans, search the ID, and you'll be able to find this build really easily. Or if you go to dac.gg/eternal return, you'll be able to like look up my name, which is just Vitreous Anima, and it should be a build there where you just click on like one of my Elena games and you'll be able to see the build, and it'll show you the path in that, but it won't show you your late game build. So ideally, do it in game because then you'll be able to see like everything that I did. Yeah, all right. So we're gonna show off a game real quick, and I'm gonna talk about Elena. I'm just gonna go over one of my games that I did last night. I'm gonna show it off real quick. We're just gonna voice over the game. We're just gonna talk about it. Nothing crazy. So. But yes, ideally, I play Elena as a sub-tank / a little bit of a DPS, but ideally, I don't play her as... I play her a little bit tankier, ideally. And I like the tank, but I also been liking running a little bit of damage just because she does have some good damage options, and she can be able to pump out some damage, and especially... But if you have 2, carries, ideally, you probably don't need to run... So this is me. So basically start out factory, you just loot, walk around, use your E for mobility, which your E, I should say, does 25 ticks on your bar every second that you use your E. And it does slowly regen over time. It regens like a couple per second. If you level up your E, it does more, but it's not like a really necessity to level up your E. Like, as I said, you level up your E last, and you just kind of do that. Ideally, with this teleport, when you go to Alley, I do like to get... I believe this build needs 2 pieces of leather for this first part of this build. So ideally, you just go those chickens, you Q, do some damage, you build on them, do some, overall. But yeah, so grab everything, go to police station, and we just finish our build. And ideally, once you get to the point of finishing your build, you want to try and group up with your teammates. Sometimes it is difficult in solo queue because sometimes people will just do whatever they want to do. But ideally, you just try to group up with them as quick as you can, because once night 1 happens, you'll probably be able to fight people and actually like contest stuff. Yeah. So as you can tell, my team comp, so I'll talk about that. So my team comp right now, so I am playing with an Arda and a Heart. They're both backliners. Heart does like attack damage, is very mobile, and does actually quite a bit of damage. She's actually really solid like marksman carry. She has a guitar. She's like one of the only few characters that uses a guitar. For Arda is like a mage character. I don't know too much about Arda, but Arda can pump out quite a bit of damage. So ideally, my situation of when I got into this game was just kind of, I am kind of just beef boy trying to protect my team, because these are the carries and they'll hopefully carry. Yeah, as you can see, we're just chasing here for some kills. Ideally, he gets the speed gates. We just kind of back off and we just start looting or start farming mobs. Ideally, when you play Eternal Return, you want to make sure you're always doing something, or you're moving with a purpose. You're moving with a purpose. You're being productive. You're being able to do stuff. If that's either like cooking food, killing mobs, contesting objectives. Like ideally, time is so important in this game, and literally like seconds they do matter sometimes when they get stuff. And yes, ideally when you E2, so I should say this, when you E and skate around, you can't do any abilities other than your W. So if your W is up, make sure, you know, to E then W, because that kind of gives you more mobility as well as a little bit more damage output on your W. But with your E, do make sure that your your chilled bar stays kind of at a reasonable area, because it will, you know, it does go down, and you do need that for fights sometimes, because it's a good way to chase people, but it's also a good way to, but yeah, see? Good old lockdown, good stun, good ultimate, and then kind of just chasing for the kill just to get the kill credit. But yeah, so early game, you just kind of contest people, you fight, you get kills here and there. But yeah, so ideally we're just playing around Cemetery. Cemetery tree is probably going to be up here pretty soon. And ideally, I want to give the transitions to my carries, either Arda or Heart, just because they pump out damage and they do quite a bit. Yeah. So yeah, so I'm just farming Cemetery here, just making sure, get mastery, get levels, get some XP, get some food. Also, a good thing when you kill bats, you get cameras. You get cameras, binoculars, or gunpowder, which you can use those to turn those into either telephoto cameras or recon drones, and recon drones can turn into EMPs and that. But yeah, as you can tell, like, yeah, we're just in hospital. I have slightly above 200. I could have technically crafted here, but wanted to just farm up some more, get the mutant wolf spawn, which mutant spawns do give you more XP and more just everything. Just overall, it's really nice. So ideally, if you can get mutant wolves or mutant packs, definitely would recommend doing that if you have your team. And you also have a higher chance to maybe get a like a meteorite or a tree, or, you know, like kind of like those like objective late game items. Yeah, we've been this game we mostly were just chilling and fighting or farming early game, just because we didn't really find anybody. There's really nobody to fight in this early game part. Yeah, we're just walking around farming, doing nothing too out of the ordinary. And yeah, so the reason why I'm looting here as well is you get binoculars from here, and that's how you get your telephoto cameras, ideally. That's kind of how I do stuff. But yeah, as you can tell, I was kind of probably sorting my inventory in that a little bit there, I think, for a moment or two. But yeah, so we walk into Battle Zone here. We're going to be contesting, it looks like Team 1 here. So Team 1 has an Arda, Debbie, and Marlene, and a Soichi. Ideally with this team, I kind of want to focus the Arda, just because damage output. But yeah, see, lock him down, ultimate, about 80, like, he's basically dead there. And then my other teammates just go for the Soichi, get the Soichi. And then just kind of just, yeah, see, back up when I'm low HP, kind of let my teammates take care of the rest. I notice Heart ults onto the W Marlene. I go in, apply chill stacks, get damage, and there we go, win the battle zone there. So ideally, the reason why that was a really good, I think both of my backliners really kited the Soichi well, and I just locked down the Arda, and Debbie and Marlene kind of had to help out the Arda there, and I just killed the Arda and didn't die for it, and just kind of got the advantage from that. So yeah, overall, like, Elena is really, really good at getting into the backline of teams and just really locking down just a person, especially if they're a mage. If they're a mage, they're very much less mobile, so you can definitely lock them down easier. Like, Arda is really easy to lock down. You can lock down Adina. You can lock down, like Ava. Like, you can lock down all these mages really, really easily. But I mean, you could still lock down a marksman, especially if you can get to like a Rio, a Heart, Nadine, like any of those like marksman kind of DPSs. And yeah. So the first thing I craft here is I craft a meteorite, and the reason why I crafted a meteorite is because I don't think I had anything for my my blazing dress, so I just decided to craft actually no, I already have blazing dress, it looks like, so I must have got the blazing dress from the victory zones. So I crafted astronaut helmet. So I did take the prioritization and crafting blazing dress, but ideally too, I was very surprised in this game that my teammates gave me the battle zone thing, and that's why I got the tree, because I just wanted to get that blazing dress. So we got blazing dress into astronaut helmet. I also do for just this whole situation, yeah, I just want to give them items in that, and overall, like, giving them. Also, I should say this too, that ideally as an Elena player, if you can't, it's not a bad idea to do this too, is to prioritize getting your tax skill upgrade, because Quake 3 does give you more slow, and it does start applying damage, and you only get the damage from Quake from level 3 Quake. So ideally, if you want to do a little bit of more damage, you get Quake 3, and you just get a tax skill upgrade from either the kiosk, or you can get it from a purple box if you're lucky. And yeah, also the thing too that's really nice about Arda, Arda does give you a little bit of healing as well from, I don't know what specifically if this kit gives him healing, but he gets healing. And yeah, so right here, we're just kind of waiting here. My teammates decided to go to forest and grab the tree. I don't know if that was the best of calls. I think in this situation, it was okay. But ideally, when you try to grab especially one that's like really far in the zone, you're going to eat at least a good 15, 20 plus seconds of timer. And especially when it gets to late game, that timer kind of matters, especially if you're not like, you know, killing people, because you do get extra timer when you get like eliminations in that. But you're not like getting eliminations at all, you're definitely not getting anything happening. Yeah, see, just E N W N, just a face check. Ideally, I can face check out of this team just because I'm the tankier one. I can just E and W, and if they do face check me, I can stun them and slow them and do all that. Yeah, see, I'm just waiting here. Probably gonna craft up a mithril. Probably going for, I believe, Tyndalos' Monarch, if I remember correctly. Ideally, prioritization is your chest piece, your head piece, and then arm piece. Ideally, when you play a tank character, you do want to prioritize your chest and your headpiece, just because those give you the most defensive HP stats and just overall is kind of like the tank's, you know, power spike in the sense. So ideally, if you're playing a tank character, and this goes for all kinds of tanks, not just Elena herself, ideally you just prioritize, you know, you prioritize your chest piece for transition and then your headpiece. And that'll give you overall the most output. I believe I got another mithril from that box, so I just makes Legs of Steel. Legs of Steel is a good item, gives you movement speed, cooldown reduction, as well as being a healing reduction, which is really, really nice to have, especially when a decent amount of the players build Omni Siphon, which is lifesteal, or just in general, just in their kit have really good healing. Or if there's support characters that heal, then it reduces their healing as well, which is really, really nice overall. And yeah, as you can see here, I'm just farming up more mobs, just getting more weapon mastery as well as XP. Ideally, you want to do this with your teammates because you get about the same amount of credits now from just farming that, and just ideally you want to share the XP with everybody, so then everyone is kind of around the same level, because it does get especially harder when, you know, it does get pretty decently difficult. Yeah. I see here, they kind of were wiping a fight right now, and then yeah, we just found a Rio, and we just downed a Rio, which I didn't really see that because I was trying to prioritize the mobs there, but yeah. So we go to Pond, and I think we saw some pings around the Omega, which Omega was still up, and it was day 4. So Omega spawns in night 3. Omega was still up for another... Basically, it was up a couple minutes after it spawned, and no one touched it. So we were like, okay, we can go contest Omega. Here, so we're contesting Omega, and no one was here. So it's literally just a free Omega for us. Ideally, one of my teammates gets the core, because that is like a power spike, especially for damage DPSs, is when they get a core item. Like any character that does skill amp, if you build Holy Order Persona, it's usually like that is their like DPS spike. And then for like attack damage, depending on who it is, like Radar is a really good option now. Trying to think of any others that are like AD wise. Like I know Murta's not terrible, but yeah, definitely like Radar is like a big ticket item for AD DPS marksmen. So ideally, I think too here, we're at 20-some seconds here. Looks like Wicked Line is spawning through Cemetery, so I think we were considering going to that jump pad to go over to Cemetery. So then we can maybe contest a Wicked Line, which I believe is what we do, in fact, do eventually. I think I was just trying to clear some waves real quick. Ideally, I don't mind spawning, really, I don't mind getting Wicked Line off a spawn, but if people are contesting it, then it's basically like, you know, not the best of ideas. But as you can see here, no one's on top of Wicked Line. There is a team in Cemetery though, so probably have to be a little bit careful. And I think what happens here is we see the Wicked Line, and then as we are approaching it, we do notice that it stops moving and that it is kind of dashing around, which is usually a good sign, and the EMP drone goes off there as well from them. And we notice that it's dashing around, it's not moving like just in its like AI programmed pattern, so it's being fought at. And then we got some vision. They just slay Wicked Line. This 3-man stun on Arda, oh man, it was such a good stun. And then the ultimate on top of that to stun 2 of them there. And then we just wiped the whole team because they got decent amount of, they took a bunch of damage from Wicked Line, so they didn't really have a good time to reset there. And Arda had a really good cube with the 3-man stun, and I just layered W on top of that with ultimate, and yeah, that was GG for that fight. So that was a really good fight overall. from the Arda, and then just good follow-up on both me and Heart. And as you can see here, I do go into zone. I do tank about 10 15 seconds of timer, but that's because I want to get my last item, which is the Eyes of Argos, which does a good amount of skill amp and does quite a bit of damage, so just a good last item to have. But you could also go Blood Rapier, which I do not believe I got to Blood Rapier just because I wanted to give the blood items to both Arda or Heart. But yeah, you usually don't get full build too often with Elena, but you know, in this game I got to full build and it's really fun to use full build. Just saying, on any character, it's always fun to have your entire build. And I should state this as well, with your W, you can W over certain walls and like objects. It isn't like super long, but you can W over some like walls and obstacles and that. And then with your E, when you skate around, I should state, if you do run into a wall, your E instantly stops. So do not just E. And yeah, I believe I pick up a Blood Ripper from this, which Blood Ripper is a very good marksman AD damage item. So ideally I wanted to give that to the Heart just because you know, she's our AD carry, she's our marksman that does damage. So I wanted to give her Blood Ripper in that. And I see crafting here. I maybe go a little too crazy on this. I go in, I take a bunch of damage from Celine here, but I'm staying alive. And yeah, and I get the trade there on Kenneth. Heart actually gets a charm on the Rio and does damage. And yeah, we get a good 2-for-1 overall. But yeah, Celine does quite a bit of damage, which is kind of insane. But yeah, overall, was a little too aggressive on this fight, but overall did come out victorious. We did get the trade on the Kenneth, and then Heart got a really good charm on the Rio, which took out the Rio. And then we chased down the third kill for Celine, and then it's just one other team that we're fighting, which this other team is in Adriana, Aram, and Lennox, which ideally you want to, probably out of this comp, I probably try to go for the Adriana. Adriana does have mobility, so I do like to probably prioritize either, just ideally I want to keep these two alive. Heart and them are all just super strong right now. They're full builds. They want to just blow up anybody they touch. So ideally my goal is to just keep these two alive as best as I can. And as you can tell here, I just kind of did, with my last thing I bought the tax skill upgrade. I would say I would recommend trying to prioritize, probably, you know, the tax skill upgrade. And yeah, they face check a bush. I get on a Rem here, do some good early damage. I just charm up. I do ultimate. I lock down Adriana here, and then just overall good damage output. And yeah, just they face check a bush. I got on top of them and did a bunch of damage. So yeah, that's Elena for you. Just dashing on top of that, just lock down both carries, and just hopefully your backliners, you know, do the DPS that you need to have them do. But yeah, overall, if you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to comment in the video. I'll try to answer as much as I can. Or if you want more information, you can go to my streams over at twitch.tv/VitreousAnima. I stream Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I at least stream like 2 to 3 times a week. And I do stream at least ER once or twice a week. So you can definitely ask your questions there if you want to know more information, or if you just want to see some gameplay of my style with other characters, you could definitely go check it out. I play many other characters, so make sure to check it out. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this guide video, and maybe we'll have another one for another character in the future. So yes, thank you all for joining. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully see you guys in the next guide video. Good luck out there. Bye-bye.